Hello and welcome to the Spa-Francorchamps channel, and today I want to explain why I downscaled from a triple monitor setup to a single TV for my sim racing setup with my PC through using the LG OLED 48C1. Now, disclaimer, I like Ferrari, or pretty much anybody that's not Mercedes on the F1 grid, but my heart lies with that Honda power unit because I daily drive a Honda, which means I'm always rooting for AlphaTauri and Red Bull in those F1 races. So if you were at all curious to know where my allegiance lies on the F1 grid, now you know. And back to the video. So that triple monitor setup you've seen as a backdrop in many of my videos was solely created to get into sim racing because I had the awesome opportunity of getting myself a TSPC racer and TLCM pedals from Thrustmaster. And while that triple monitor setup was a really great introduction, it has some flaws. Now, the actual monitors themselves have had no issues. They're high refresh rate and high resolution, but the actual triple monitor mount that I'm using is not the best when you have a force feedback wheel going right through the desk. Each of the arms on that triple monitor mount act individually, and when I get in the heat of a moment or go off track in a race, sometimes each of those arms will get a little bit out of shape or out of balance, and one monitor could be slightly higher than the other or tilted forward or backwards different than the middle monitor, and it's always a pain to readjust after every race. So I was looking to simplify my setup, possibly with a single screen, but I needed something big enough. And that's where LG came into play and reached out to me to check out their new OLED 48C1. And I was looking at the specifications and the possibility of using it with a sim racing setup, and I'm like, I'll give it a shot. And the results have been interesting. So before we get into why I think this TV is great for sim racing, let me do a little spec spill on the OLED 48C1. If you're looking at this TV from a PC gamer's perspective, the first thing that should just jump right out at you is the 4K 120Hz panel, 1 millisecond response time, and support for NVIDIA G-Sync and AMD FreeSync. So if you have any gaming PC, like the one here that I have, that is quite powerful and can utilize the majority of that 120Hz refresh rate, you're in good territory because this TV can take a lot. Additionally, this is an LG OLED TV, so all of the pixels on it are self-lit, so you will get that full deep contrast in the image of the actual TV. And while that may seem kind of like an oversight for a lot of PC gamers, for sim racers, that's actually been a little bit handy and determining track conditions while you're going quickly around a track, which I'll get into later. But it makes the overall image very deep and dark with the blacks while still emphasizing the colors. So it's just a really nice picture to look at. Now, of course, this is a full-on TV that is primed for gaming, so it does have a game optimizer suite where you can enable and disable certain things to tinker your gaming experience to be just how you want it. And the few things that I liked from that suite were the Motion Pro feature where you can turn it on and it'll reduce motion blur while you're gaming, which I found kind of useful for determining brake markers on a track, like on Monza, where you need to hit those braking marks correctly. And also the AI sound that is in this TV in terms of hardware and software, with like Dolby Atmos and the sound game optimizer feature, can produce sound coming from this TV that is actually bigger than what you might think. So if you're speccing out a sim racing setup and you don't have a full-on sound system yet, and you have to stick with the internal speakers on the TV, if you turn on those features, you will not be dissatisfied. It's quite surprising actually. And to be fair, I'm gonna keep this as is. I'm not gonna buy a sound bar or anything like that. I'm cool with the sound coming from this TV. It wraps around you in a way you would not expect. And I could go on more about the different features and cool nifty things with the LG OLED 48C1, but now I want to get into the actual meat of the video and tell you why it's so good for sim racing. Of course, all of this is very visual because you need to get around the track as quick as possible, and there are a multitude of different factors that can impact your lap time, all the way even from like wind direction, track conditions, and where your placement is on the field, all the way to just overall responsiveness whenever you're reacting to things that are coming right at you while you're driving. And when it comes to TVs, historically, they've either had really good picture quality or really good responsiveness and speed, but never both. But the LG OLED 48C1 can do both of those things. So with that Motion Pro technology, 120 Hz panel refresh rate, and the 1 millisecond response time, on Monza and other tracks with hard braking zones, I am able to directly pinpoint where I need a brake all the time, just like a gaming monitor, which is kind of surprising, all the while on a 48-inch panel, which is really great. Secondly, like I said, the response time on this TV is very low. So if you need to react quickly to something on the road, or if you need to get off the line quicker than your opponents, you can do that with this TV, the same as a gaming monitor. And of course, it's a sim racing setup, so you want a nice looking picture quality, and the LG OLED 48C1 delivered on that too, while again, not sacrificing responsiveness or overall input lag. So it checks all the boxes for a sim racing TV. And I mean, if you're looking for one of the best to fit that category for a sim racing setup, this is something to take a deep look at. Anyways, I want to give a thank you to LG for sending over this TV. It's been a blast to play on. And if you want to get yourself hooked up with one for whatever PC gaming you want to do, including maybe sim racing, I'll have it linked in the description below. And with all that said, I want to give a thank you for watching. And this is the Scattervolt channel signing out.